egg has been planted.
Okay, so we have another video inside Star Citizen Design Brief Cargo Career Part 1. And that is interesting to listen to. Let's see.
In looking at the way that our teams are structured, especially after the Montreal merger with Turbulence, we decided to combine USPU as well as Montreal PU into NAPU.
NAPU stands for North American Persistent Universe.
NAPU is the regroupment of 3 different cities.
In order to kind of create a super team that gives them a lot of coding firepower as well as design firepower.
NAPU is really a collection of people from Austin, from LA, from Montreal.
We're all just getting together to try to make some amazing new features for Star Citizen PU.
So that includes physicalized cargo, in-game shops, and newer features that we're looking into, such as exploration.
We're working on mostly currently cargo and things regarding that. We recently finished work on the Hull C.
NAPU was formed in order to work on larger feature sets for Star Citizen, so that those features have the time and resources required to deliver them at the quality level that we want to see. NAPU includes several engineers, production, and QA.
We have 6 different programmers, actually. We have a few that are in LA, and then we have a few more in Austin.
Right now that includes James, Mitch, Kevin, myself, as well as Preston on production and Alicia in QA. Did I say everyone?
We have Mathieu and Emma that are here in Montreal.
Yes, I think I got them all.
So at this point, a lot of what we're working on is still in the design phase.
I would say in the technical design and planning phase, but yeah.
There's a lot of TDD, like technical design document going on, preparing the feature and all the parts. There's a lot of work in that area.
The North American Persistent Universe team are currently at the forefront of the next major evolution of cargo, hangar, and related inventory systems. And as their work begins to enter the PU over the next 3 to 6 to 9 months and beyond, all building to what we hope will collectively become a true cargo career, we here at ISC, well, we didn't want to wait to begin telling the story. As much like the engineering and resource management systems of the EU-PU team, this work promises to be utterly transformative to the overall Star Citizen experience. So these next 2 shows, well, they're going to be a bit different than normal.
Okay.
That's because we're not going to have anything to dazzle your eyeballs with just yet. Yes, the ISC gameplay capture team, as great as they are, well, we're going to let them take a break this week as we let members of the NAPU team take you through the design and intention of their current work in a 2-part special we're calling Design Brief Cargo Career.
That's actually very interesting. They start to heat up the public closer towards the sitcom. They're giving us the meat, the thoughts, like the designs and everything, so everyone get a bit hyped up, you know?
The focus of NAPU in the foreseeable future is going to include features such as freight elevators and instance hangars, as well as persistent hangars. Freight elevators are one of the biggest changes to cargo that we've seen in the entire history of the game. They bring the feature from being something that's somewhat magical to something that's physical. It adds friction, but also a gameplay experience around hauling cargo in our game. This one addition, I think, is going to change not just cargo, but also the way that we interact with everything else in the game: inventory, player items, purchases, ship items. It's a fundamental change to how players are going to deal with the world. Freight elevators are going to be implemented as an access point inside of player hangars,
where the player can interface with cargo to get it ready to put it on their ship.
And you'll use a kiosk to interact with the freight platform in order to call things up from your inventory or to put things into your inventory. The way that the freight elevators are going to be implemented is actually using the same technology as we use for the cargo grids in the ships. Players will be using their tractor beams in order to detach things from the platform and then haul it onto their ship, and vice versa. They'll be using the tractor beams in order to detach things from the cargo grids and put them onto the freight platform. I think that this is going to make the whole experience feel a lot more tactile and organic, as well as there's a lot of fun and interesting gameplay around just how you stack things, how you sequence them, take a group of people, decide how you're actually going to load things together.
The only problem I instantly see in this, how tedious it's gonna get. Like, Star Citizen overall is already extremely tedious game. You spend up like either managing something or waiting for something or doing a lot of useless manual labor that is fun at the first week and then it's get like just annoying. So this is my only worry. Is that system going to be time-proof, or will everyone get sick of it in a month or two of using, and it's going to be just another elevator or train gameplay where you go and train and uselessly spend hours and hours and time that are accumulated across your like game sessions over the year, like just riding the train back and forth, waiting for something, or like stacking something, you know? And don't get me wrong, I want Star Citizen to be immersive, and I want that tactile feeling of playing the game that majority of other games don't have. I'm just afraid, will this be too much, or will it be okay to the point where people will not hate it after like few months of its existence?
It's like that time that you go and move with a U-Haul and your friends, you got to figure out where to put the couch, but in-game. It's going to be figuring out, where do we take that big box, where do we put the ship items, where do we put the guns, and try to sequence it in a way that's both optimal as well as, I think, fun.
We don't just want to have the feature, exist in a void. Really what we want to try and do is work with the whole scope of the game to support cargo. So this is something for outposts, for UGF, where we want to look at how do we really take advantage of cargo in these spaces.
However, it does mean that the outpost will also support the same manual loading process that the hangars and those other locations use.
So not only are you participating in cargo, in a hangar, in a station, but out in the verse as well, at an outpost.
And while freight elevators will be available throughout locations in the persistent universe, much of the work involved in manually loading and unloading your vehicles will always involve your hangars, which presented the team with some unique challenges to address and overcome, starting with the next iteration of instanced hangars.
All right, let's go.
Instanced hangars solve a particular problem. How do we have people spending an extended period of time in their hangar loading cargo now that we've added these freight platforms, but also allow the locations to have traffic coming in and out of the landing zones? What we're doing here is decoupling the access to a hangar from the occupancy. And all that really means is that we can dynamically create these hangars at runtime, and they're kind of set aside for players to spend time inside of.
Without getting too much into it, right, you're gonna have a personal space. We're just looking at ways that a lot more players can do this simultaneously.
Yeah, it's like everyone was calling out of this, like, don't promise the things you will not be able to do. Remember how many talks we had from Chris himself about like how everything is going to be like on a shard, a single world without like any stuff is getting instanced or anything. And here we are listening about the instance hangars, and I've called it out for years. That's gonna be a thing, I don't believe. Imagine how huge the stations have to be to actually make space for the players if it's not instance. It's impossible. I was always saying, like, whenever you land a ship somewhere, it has to go down, right, on the pad that you landed it on. It has to go down somewhere to your instance hangar or whatever, and then you deal with the ship. It's kind of there, and then whenever you want to take off, like, it just goes up and you pop up in an actual physicalized hangar in the world where you can just fly away, right, from the station or outpost or whatsoever.
We don't want to have a big choke point of everybody trying to load their ships and unload, and all trying to do that in the same space. So we have instance hangars as a way to put you in an area where you can feel comfortable, you can take the time that you want to load or unload your cargo, and really engage in that system the way that you choose.
And so you can actually have your personal space to deal with cargo inside a hangar, and depending on your ship.
that sits somewhere inside of the planet with the station streamed out. I don't think it's gonna be like that. I think that's the whole point. They're coming out with some sort of a tech that will decouple completely this hangar from the world, like completely. It shouldn't be like a specific spot in space inside of the server where you're gonna get teleported and then deal with it, because it's worth investing time into developing a system where whenever you're in that closed instance, it completely decouples it and puts a load on another server that serves those hangars. You're not even present there, right? You're technically present on that world, but until you're out back into the world, real world, you're not like kind of present, right? Like completely like moved away, not teleported in the middle of a planet, not teleported to the 0-0 coordinates to another like servicing machine, right? To completely different server. We'll see how they will end up doing it.
You know, there'll be different situations and different locations for that.
But the thing with this one is that when you leave, things gonna basically go away.
Once you want to leave, you'll just make a request to ATC, and the hangar will move into place. We'll open up the door.
Yeah, the hangar will move into place. You see, like that's what I was really saying. Probably they will make it like a pad. Like you make an ATC call if there is a free space on the station, outpost, whatever. The station, you're getting teleported to that specific spot. Everything starts to stream back in the station, and you slowly like move on the hangar doors open, and you slowly like move on the hangar or something like that. You know.
Doors, and you'll be able to leave. And then the same thing when landing, you make a request to ATC. The system will allocate the space for you, open the hangar, and you can land. For the players, it will seem seamless, but underneath the hood, the system itself is going to be maintaining a representation of where all the players are, what requirements are needed, without having a bottleneck for players who are actually just trying to play the game otherwise. And then we have persistent hangars. Persistent hangars are kind of an evolution of instant hangars. And really what it is it's our first step towards real player ownership in the game beyond ships.
The cool thing is that you'll be able to put your stuff in it, come back to it, and it's still gonna be there.
It's just whatever the player wants to keep inside their hangar, that's their home. They can just leave them lie around, they can arrange them however they want, be it weapons or cargo or dead corpses or whatever.
Very, very long
That's
term.
nice.
I have no clue
That
of
was fun.
any dates or anything, but you'll be able to customize it and upgrade it so it becomes bigger. You can have bigger ships in them. And maybe at some point even having them like at distant location, you could buy a second one. For now, it's gonna really be on your own location.
It's persistent to you and your character. And you can invite friends to your hangar. You can load up your ship.
So basically, we will not be able as criminals to have our own hangar because our home location cannot be Grimhacks. Just saying. So expect another punch and spit in the face to all the Crim players. And from what they just said, yet again, it feels like they will also be instanced. Because if they will force all those hangars into obviously a main location, there is no way. I hope at least with apartments that they're teased us back in the day, and with like a living place it will be like unique, at least that I hope, because apparently from what they said, the hangars, the persistent owned hangars are also gonna be instance, which feels bad, feels a bit shitty. Another thing that they could do in future, like make them instance in the populated locations, in like the high security locations, but whenever you go further out, maybe in future player build stations or something, may force like to expand the station if you need to, you know, to have a limited amount of them. We'll see. I don't know.
And take the haul from your mission, you know, out of your ship and distribute it to your buddies. So persistence of hangars is really important.
This is going to be developed more in the future, and we're going to use the same technology that we're using to build this for other things in the game, such as player hubs. And it's a real...
Oh, no. Okay, I'm done. Player hubs. Player hubs too. Okay, I might forgive the player hub. Just tell me the apartments will be not instanced, please. Tell me the apartments will not be instanced. This is like... what is this instance citizen? What is this? We're getting into instance citizen. Nothing will matter. Everyone will be able to have the same thing. There is like no achievement in having a certain property to yourself. Like having the funds to have it. It's like, what is this instance citizen? It's like in like freaking Black Desert Online, where everyone gets into the same house, like hundreds of players get into the same house. It's disgusting. What do you mean Rust Citizen? In Rust Citizen, there is no instancing. In Rust Citizen, you build your base, it's your base. I mean, it's a limited server, yes, but inside of the server, there is no instancing. It's your base, and only you have a base at a certain place on the map. It's like, it's the other thing that Rust is not MMO, so they have a different type of challenges with that, much less challenges, but I've seen games that did that okay. I'm disappointed with this. I understand the realities, but I think there would be ways to solve it.
I think exciting way for the players to feel like they have a more permanent place in the game that they can call their own.
A more permanent place in the game that is instanced to all the other players. Your home is also a home to another 100 players. Bro. Like, the closer we get to the game being developed, all the reality checks that people were talking about are actually coming into play, and more of the dreams are gonna get crushed now. It was also quite a big dream crush with the logic of server mashing that they kind of rethought. I had the same feeling when they presented the new logic of server mashing back in the day, like what, 2 years ago or whenever that was. And now we're start getting this flow of dream crushing from time to time, when there will be an actual reality check to what CAG is willing to invest to, and when they're not willing to invest to, like developing and thinking how it's gonna be, right? Unfortunately, that's what it is. And yeah, I'm sad to hear that. I mean, I understand they just don't want to develop another system and understand how to scale the player ownership without instancing it. I understand that. Again, that can be done by proper pricing for that property, and you just naturally spread people across cheaper places who are not allowed to, who cannot afford it. I don't know why. Like, I kind of understand with hangars, because if you would actually like allow hangars to be real, the station will grow insanely huge, right? But again, you could allow temporary hangars to be instance, and then the permanent hangars to be non-instance. And if you cannot afford to be in a pool of a limited amount of permanent hangars on a certain station, you just cannot afford it. Simple as that. You just cannot afford it, you know? I mean, the way they're thinking about it, that's the whole tech they're developing. So no, I don't think it's a band-aid or a temporary fix.
I can't help but notice the ISC gameplay capture team snuck some conceptual visualization in there after all. What can I say? They love what they do. And of course, I'd be remiss if I didn't say that everything you're hearing about today is the current intention of the design team at the time that we film this. Now, as with all things you see and hear about on any ISC, it's always a work in progress, and may, and often will, continue to evolve as development progresses and concepts are tested.
That is, he said that specifically for me, so I have my coping like, maybe they're gonna change it, you know, I shouldn't like sell my account today, okay, I'll wait for another like day, you know.
Now, so far in our design brief cargo career, we've talked about how you'll move and store your boxes. So let's find out more about what happens inside those boxes going forward.
With 320, we introduced a new packing system that allows us to use a larger set of box sizes. Right now, that includes 1 SEU, 2, 4, 8, 16, 24, and 32. However, with this new version of cargo coming out subsequently, we're gonna be adding the ability to have what we call inventory container boxes.
Inventory actually plays a big part of cargo as well. When you look at the sheer scope of number of boxes and number of weapons and armor and FPS entities that we have in our game, we really want to make sure that not only is cargo physicalized, but that inventory has a proper location and place as well.
If you go to Port Tressler and you hit I, you'll bring up the player inventory screen, and you'll see that, okay, I have my access to Port Tressler inventory no matter where I am standing in the station. that's going to go away. This is very important because what it means is it gives the players a way to transfer in a very clean and effective way all of the loose items that you collect during gameplay.
A big change that's coming up is
This doesn't work. What is this fake? You cannot put a box in front of the mule. I've tried so hard. There is no way. There is no grid. What is this fake?
going to be having properties for those boxes. So that could be something like a box that's fragile,
Yeah, that's what usually happens.
or a box
You don't need to drive a mule into your Freelancer Max. You just have to touch its ramp with the box for that to happen.
that could be radioactive, or that needs to be kept cold. The other thing we're looking at with cargo and cargo boxes is the ability to store large items in your cargo boxes. This could be anything from a ship weapon to even smaller vehicles like gray cats. That way, when you're going with your friends, you're going to do a long haul across the verse, you can have these larger boxes filled to the brim with as many ship weapons as your ship is going to carry.
Anything that you think you want to take with you and hold on to, now you can put them in an inventory container box, snap them into the cargo grid, and haul it into your ship. Additionally, you'll be able to take those to the freight platforms in order to put them into your inventories. So it gives a kind of universal way to haul things around in the game,
That is definitely not coming in 320. They're talking about the future, right?
as well as a way for players to be able to pirate player inventories now.
Hey, CAG! Why Mercury is not warping out? Why the pirates are shooting sledges that will run out of ammo before the Mercury dies? And the dominances that have a lower DPS than repeaters? Oh, it's because it's taffy CAG and probably they don't know how to pirate. Never mind. AG, you don't have to shoot the door when you soft death the ship. It unlocks. Everything unlocks on a soft death. There's no need to shoot.
Now that you have these goods that are locked up together in these inventory containers, it just takes a tractor beam in order to carry them off. So it gives a lot of gameplay possibilities for us to have with these loose items.
A lot of these things will tie into missions and where you decide to place them on your ship. So we're really trying to make sure with cargo, it's not just a wide system, but that we're actually adding these kind of elements to help further gameplay, missions, and purpose.
You guys had the week off. This is a design brief show. It's talking and it's intent, and none of this stuff is ready to show yet. Don't you want a week off? Your stuff's so weird anyway. Just no weird stuff for cargo grid. Back to the spaceship.
We have some additional changes that we're going to be making to the cargo grids that allow them to have any sized item attached into them. At the moment, we have effectively one kinds of items that attach to the cargo grids. Those are the cargo boxes, and they all have a similar size step on the dimension. And what I just mean by that is they're all what we call 1 SEU.
Oh, nice. You see, the mining bags are attached right there, right?
Length multiples on each side. We're going to have it to where anything.
Okay, there are guns. There are missile size 5, size 9, a big Benny, a chair, a buggy,
Can attach to the
an Aurora, a size 10
cargo
bomb, a lot of Picos, and almost a Vandal. That is actually not bad, but I think it's a concept. Like, I don't will you be able to actually carry like a ship like that? Isn't it a bit too much? I mean, like, theoretically, if it creates just a gravity, like, what they could do, they could just activate a gravity right now on the Hull C panels, you know? Just make them a gravity spot, and then that would allow already to do that. You would be able to place Furies there, whatever fits there, right? That wouldn't be that bad.
And grab at that tractor beam that can reasonably snap into place will be able to snap into place. And this is a requirement just to satisfy the inventory.
Bro, I want this. Let's go. Look at that hot dog. Holy shit, that's good.
And this is a requirement just to satisfy
size 10 railgun, just like as Blues always wanted.
the inventory.
Size 9s? I mean, you can kind of do this already. What is this? Guns?
Changes that we're making now that you won't have this kind of magical access. But it also, I think, broadens the horizons about what your cargo grid and all of your ships can be used for. I think it'll also open up a lot of fun gameplay around just figuring
Tommy
out
and
how to
Sons?
arrange all these things. I think it'll also
Like, they basically did a shop here? That's funny.
open up a lot of fun gameplay around just figuring out how to arrange all these things in a way that works well.
So yeah, that's part one of our talk about Design Brief Cargo Career. Next week, we'll be back with changes to vehicles and location inventory, larger cargo item support, kiosk changes, the item bank, and even unique item recovery. So come on back and get the full scope of things next week. And as testing and fixing continues in Alpha 320 over on the PTU, with the latest additions to Arena Commander and the Precision Universe heading your way, you can check out the RobertSpaceIndustries.com website or launcher for details on when that releases. For Inside Star Citizen, I'm Jared Huckabee. Thanks for letting us share the process of game development with you, and for indulging us in these mostly visual-free design brief shows. And we'll see you all here for part 2 next week.
Thank you, Jared. Well, I can tell you this. That was quite good. A lot of meat there. I was disappointed by a bit of instancing. I understand why instancing is required for temporary hangars, but I kind of don't really agree. And I'm not sold on the idea of permanently owned hangars, hubs, and apartments being like instance also. I hope at least it won't touch the apartments, because hangars, it's like whatever. Hubs, they're quite similar. It's also not a big deal. Although I think they could have just come up with a way to expand the stations when needed, right? And then make a lot of space there. Like, you could basically create a hub module. You could create a hub module and the elevator will take you physically to that hub, right? The hub module is huge. You can, like, in one module, you can put up like 1,000, whatever, 10,000 like of those things. And I'm not saying all the items inside of those hubs should be loaded into a player. That would be crazy. Like, the things in the hub should be loaded only when you open the door, right? That's understandable. The same goes to the hangar, but I don't know. But again, hubs and hangars are quite similar. There is nothing unique in them. I hope this will not touch in buildings and all that. I hope like apartments, floors, you know, because we're still not talking about the apartments at this stage. They never touched that. I think it's going to come like later on. But when it comes to that, I hope that will be like a permanent non-instant thing. Or even if it is an instance, just to load off the server or whatsoever, I hope there is only one owner for that instance. It's the matter of ownership. It's not the tech that I'm pissed. It's the fact that if they're gonna instance it, it would mean that you would be able to purchase the same apartment with multiple people, let's say, and everyone will have that apartment that's gonna be instanced. It's like the moment of ownership of something unique, not the tag that is below it, right? We'll see. We'll see how that develops.